The Hollywood Actors Union has gone on strike after negotiations to reach a new contract with production studios ended in no agreement. The 160,000 member union will join writers in the first industry-wide walkout in 63 years. According to Yahoo News, the strike began Thursday at midnight, and the Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, tweeted a blank black photo and wrote, 12:01 a.m. Pacific time, that's a wrap. SAG-AFTRA and the Writers Guild of America have been on strike since May 2nd.
Major points of the strike have included pay and artificial intelligence. Concerns were based on a proposal surrounding AI. The proposal was centered on the ability for background actors to be scanned and get paid for one day's pay, and for the company to, quote, own the scan for their image, their likeness, and to be able to use it for the rest of eternity in any project they want with no consent or compensation, according to the Rolling Stone. SAG President Fran Drescher said during a press conference after the union board's unanimous vote to strike, this is a moment of history, a moment of truth. If we don't stand tall right now, we're all going to be in trouble. We're all going to be in jeopardy of being replaced by machines and big business, not Yahoo News writes. Actor Matt Damon and Emily Blunt reportedly left the opening of the premiere of their film Oppenheimer as they prepared to join the strike. So, Jess, this is interesting to me because we've had a lot of conversations lately about ChatGPT, Google's Bard, and whether or not these AIs will at some point have a significant impact on everyday workers. And I think we're sort of seeing the early iteration of this with some of the writers.
Yeah, I think we are. I think the writers standing up sounds right to me. I think their demands are very realistic. CEO Bob Iger of Disney was on television doing an interview saying that, the workers' demands are not realistic. And then when asked to point to what demands are not realistic and why, he said, I can't answer that. And this seems to me to be classic exploitation. And when it comes to creative endeavors, I think a lot of people are questioning how much AI can actually replace a human being and writing. I think the AI being developed and the computing power and the algorithms being developed by humans suggests that we can credit labor for all of its productivity. So to say that this is something that can replace labor in some kind of production function where you want to say, actually, it wasn't the workers that contributed to this result of us having this perfectly polished script that we can now polish off of, I'm just not buying it. It's all labor. It always has been. Now, the writers have been put in a really tough position where the corporations pretty much own their intellectual property when they work for them. The corporations also, when it comes to the actors and the media companies and the executives, also are owning the rights and likeness to the actors that are in their films. It's an unfair setup to have these executives and these companies own the rights to what workers are producing while they're on the clock. It's just not a fair setup to me. So I think pushing back on that is right and fair and realistic, especially when you consider how things are changing with streaming platforms. You used to have writers work on a project for an extended period of time. Now they're much shorter projects, and people are worried about paying their bills while all of these production companies are profiting in the hundreds and sometimes billions, hundreds of millions and billions. It's really an insane amount of money that they're making off of these writers' work.
I mean, Jess, for eternity. I'm just looking at some of the quotes here, to own your creativity for eternity. I mean, it's a bit insane to me. I mean, you have guitars in your background. I'm a piano player, and I think many artists would like to create something, whether it's musical or whether it's in written form. And once they pass on, the idea is that their family would be able to still benefit from that. Similarly to someone who created a major successful company, they would put in place for the benefits of that company in perpetuity to continue to benefit their family and whomever else they chose. And so I agree with the writers on this. I mean, I think these guys are not getting paid well. They're working long hours. I used to live in Hollywood. I worked briefly for a major entity out there whose name I won't say because they're a part of this. And I can tell you, I was blown away coming from the political world, going into that Hollywood world, realizing these guys are really the foundation of every single show that we enjoy, every movie we enjoy. Shouldn't they be compensated fairly for doing so? And I think to ask that question is merely reasonable.
Yeah, whose labor do you value more as the consumer? Are you
Yeah.
really happy about the executive's decision to make Scary Movie, what is it, 5, to make so many remakes of movies we've all seen, instead of having writers give their new ideas some kind of, I don't know, chance at doing well when it comes to showing movies, when it comes to pursuing a script? It's so often that these production companies don't want to take the financial risk to try something new, and us as the consumer, we keep getting repeats of things we've seen before, live action versions of old hits. We want to see new stuff. We want the
Hmm.
writers to have a chance to have their creative ideas put out there for all of us. And also when I think about, writers writing the entire episode of a show, do I care more that the production company is able to put it out and put the financial backing behind it? Or do I care about the actual script and what the writers are literally creating
Yeah.
themselves? Without the writers, there is nothing. The production companies can't produce a show
Yep.
without the creative input. It's literally everything. So if you're a consumer, you should be in solidarity with these workers because you're getting better shows. And hopefully you're making it very clear to the production companies what your priority is as a consumer, because also without the consumers, there's no production company. And so it's really a time for consumers to be in solidarity with workers here, especially because the value of the product's at stake, not just working conditions for the workers who are, whether they're Hollywood actors or they're writers, because now we have the whole industry on strike.
I mean, look, as I said, the writers are the foundation. You can't build a home without a solid foundation. As Jess just stated, you can't have a great movie, a great sitcom, a great series without the writers. And I think this goes to that question of, do you want to be paid fairly for your work? I'm certain you want to, so shouldn't the writers be paid fairly for theirs? Jess, you're right. We need to stand behind the writers, because if we want to continue to see great series, then we need them back on the job, but they should be paid for the work that they're putting out. So for any Black Mirror fans out there, you might find this groundbreaking AI proposal referenced in the SAG press conference yesterday as a literal plot of the season 6 episode titled "Joan is Awful, Sorry for the Spoilers." Jess, now I'm a big Black Mirror fan, Jess, and I have to tell you, when you think about Black Mirror and sort of its pun, if you will, on reality, you really do see some parallels to what the writers are currently going through.
Right, absolutely. Technology and its advancements have been a disaster for the human race, some would say. There's a lot of scary stuff when you really take things to the extreme, logically, of what technology could do for us. I also am thinking about the strategy of the executives right now during this strike to essentially ice the writers and actors out, to wait until they can't pay rent anymore, until they can't afford food, and then they'll be forced into another bad and exploitative deal. That puts us in the same position they started with. And it's
Yeah.
cruel. It doesn't make any sense, but it shows that their strategy in the long run with AI replacing writers is simply the workers are expendable. We don't need them. Let's also recognize that the way AI works is they take in the creative works created by people, created by Hollywood writers, and they say, what would a similar work be given the inputs I've given based on all of the inputs I have, which is all of the creative work ever made. The AI is not independent of human creativity. It's actually taking it all in as inputs and putting out something that is similar based on everything it's already seen. And so when you think about that, it's actually all of the Hollywood writers that are producing these things. And is the computer better at putting it together than a human brain? It seems that a lot of these writers think not.
I mean, look, I think about the character Joanne from Black Mirror, a fascinating character. And I'm not certain, Jess, that ChatGPT could write a script that could be interpreted that way. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in the next 5 years we will eventually get there. But there's currently a pending lawsuit right now from some writers who are suing OpenAI because what they're alleging is that OpenAI, the company that owns ChatGPT, it literally used their books without their consent, without paying them, to sort of reinforce the AI's ability to do exactly what you just said, which is to respond to prompts with some type of written response. And so this goes into a more fundamental question here, Jess. Should people be paid if these companies are going to use the materials that they produced in order to build out the background of these AIs? And I think the answer to that question is simply yes. If I'm producing something as a producer, you can't just steal my material without some type of commensurate pay.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish we could dig into this more, but we've got to wrap here. Our AI overlords are telling us that we can't talk about this anymore. It's in the script. More rising after this.